Alrighty, daily trading recap here for this Thursday, the 5th of May, 2022. Oh my gosh, hard day on the SPY overall. Immediately intraday, taking out everything that it did yesterday after the Jerome Powell talk, looking 3.5% in the red here on SPY. Absolute insanity. Let's also go over some dollar volume quick. As of 41 minutes after the close here, NASDAQ $333 billion volume traded on the day. NYSE $443 billion volume traded on the day. And OTC's $2.2 billion volume traded on the day. To Christ be the glory in it all. I'm taking this thing off for now. More exploration with the futures trading. I am definitely thankful that I took the approach to size not only my overall contract size down on what I was looking for with the 930 strategy, market open strategy, but also cut my profit target in half just because of recent market sentiment from yesterday of just me a little sketching from the data, just kind of giving me looking at last year going into the summer, looking at that data and saying, yeah, I just am not so confident in the consistent hit rate of it happening as it has these past 2 weeks. In the past kind of few months, I've been consistently playing it. So size down both my size and my profit target window, and I'm certainly glad that I did that today. I got hit in that first minute candle, luckily, and that was the exact high. Did not have any other attempt there for the rest of the day. We only came above VWAP the rest of the day. One little tiny attempt in this 941 minute candle here, and just hard selling and selling pressure there was the rest of the day. Absolute craziness just to see that. So we'll see if any amount of support comes back in around these levels, if we can load up more of the daily chart here just to get a quick look at it. Please, por favor. Guess not. Also was a part of, I missed out on the smaller session-wide strategy that I want to be a part of on the ES side. That's just a very, very small kind of point scalp there that usually happens within the first 10-15 minutes of that session open. There's not usually a lot of activity, of course, when there's just such a lack of volume, but that is one that's usually can kind of slip under the radar of a lot of the big players happening or manipulation that is there. And it usually, of course, all of these are just loose terms. And again, it's just not scientific whatsoever. And it's in every attempt to avoid being slammed on with the sledgehammer, but it usually these things happen. And should they not happen, then overall, what's factored in now from my back testing, it says that this overall long-term play out of this strategy usually plays out to be successful. So just continuing to go off to that, not trying to force it. Art of War put it good in the chat of there really should be no setup that you're pushing hard right now, just even on the equity side. Of course, this is futures looking at the index, but that's a different animal in itself. But I even feel the same thing. It's not... I never want to just be pushing so hard because I think something's going to happen. And it's just like, oh, well, I have the opportunity to take this much size on this trade. I should be taking it because it's saying that it has this hit rate and blah, 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 all these factors. That's what I did in the very beginning. And then just those realized losses that whenever I decided to eventually start taking that big size, if it forever unfortunate reason that first day that I started with big size, that was a losing day that is factored into the overall hit rate of the strategy. It would just wipe my account out so terribly, and it was hard to even get enough margin to continue playing that strategy. So it isn't about of like the allure of, ooh, it's such a pretty and nice hit rate. It always has to be, and I have to keep constantly reminding myself and not getting too cocky or confident for having a lot of successive green days in a row and very nice hit rate on these trades that I'm taking, that I will not be getting too cocky. And it's almost to the point of, my mentality used to be of, oh, if you're just consistently winning, that's the point where you just keep leveraging harder and you keep pushing until you find the crack, until you find the loss. But I mean, in reality, that's mentality is not factoring in the cockiness that you get from just consistently winning. If it was just totally unemotional and robotic and saying, okay, well, this strategy is working, let's push harder on that. That's the mentality that I want to go with that. But in the grand scheme of things, that's not really taking into account of, okay, well, that may entice you to start doing some crazier things and thinking that you just can't lose whatsoever because you're consistently getting green, and cause you to do stupider things that may go against your rules and what you've learned from bigger losers in the past. And it's not about today. It is about who you are as a trader for tomorrow, for the rest of your career. And that's one of my, that is my monthly goal this month with each and every single trade and with each and every day of, be the trader you envision yourself being, and look at and envision who that person is and just live in that and be that person. It's not this fantasy. You can make it real, and you can, with the choices that you make of the button pushes and the non-button pushes of when I get up in the morning and every single factor that way, be the trader that I envision myself being and who I want to be. And that's I think a great monthly goal that just kind of came out of thin air, but I definitely want to hold myself accountable to that. I mentioned all the little future strategies there. I wanted to play, of course, there's always that temptation of playing those MES contracts that I just love being a part of. And it's not like I'm so attached to the P&L on those trades, but they do offer some nice little boosts. And even on that micro ES contract side, I wanted to play the little dip here at 933. Okay, I thought it's pulling back pretty decently. This could be a little bottom, but I'm just going to hold off now. The tick overall is looking pretty hard in the selling pressure at this point. The Qs weren't looking that great, as if it was turning or there was any strength at this point. And so I said, I just don't think there's enough reward for me based on, even though this is a minimal risk of me trying to buy a dip around here within this candle anywhere in this range of trying to play what potential move I could see myself selling into. I'm not expecting this thing to go all the way back up to VWAP, especially since kind of was already out of that future strategy, and being able to divide into sectors, into little cubbies, the different strategies that I try to look at with this 930 market open strategy of playing that volatility and looking for quick scalps there, but being able to separate myself from that, even if I was still in the trade of saying, okay, this trade is developing here. I think that's definitely great strides I'm making in being able to do that. And like I mentioned a little bit yesterday, of not putting all my eggs in one basket of this futures trading as, this is how I'm making my salary. Like, this is how I produce the daily income. That mentality is not any part of what I am or want to be, of just trying to think, okay, well, how can I pull out money today? The total truth of it, and what I continue to harp on with myself over and over again, even if I do have those thoughts the other way, but it is about, is there a trade here? Does the chart say that there is a trade opportunity? If there's not, then I can't force one on it, especially with my small position size. I'm not, especially on the SPY, I'm not moving ES and MES with my position size and contract size I'm taking. I am not moving markets. I have to respect the whales, and I have to just continue to be a part of the little scalpiness and whatever is offered. It is not about trying to force my own opinions or ideas on the market again, and I just continue to harp on this more and more every single day, but doing so continues to reinforce that in my memory as I do have these nice green trades over and over again, and not allowing me to get so cocky and thinking that I somehow have figured out the market or I own whatever this strategy is, because tomorrow it could go absolutely bottoms up and I look like an absolute idiot, and I'm totally fine with that. There is that little level of mentioning that, if this strategy is working, hey, let's continue to experiment it and refine it and see if there's more that we can push out of it. And okay, it's going to define and tell us that, okay, we can't push that hard, but is there some niche, some little lane that we can just continue to ride in and respect the overwhelming nature that is this? I want to relate the markets to Mother Nature, that you're not controlling how the candles move. It is, every trade is a guess. Nobody knows whether the stock's going to go up, down, sideways, or in circles, right? It's just, I love that quote from McConaughey in The Wolf of Wall Street. But that is trading, and that's, continue to expand on the introduction, get there and get long-winded with all of those. But overall, I think the greatest thing I wrote in my journal today too, and the thought I had was, I am so glad, even if today seems like a small profit for what I took yesterday, for what I've taken in past days, even though it may seem like a small profit, oh my gosh, I am so glad to be taking the small profit rather than a just huge loss, sticking to my original profit-seeking targets for other trades I was taking, or just whatever, sticking to my guns, and being rigid and just unwilling to change, unadaptable. Oh my gosh, very thankful for that. And that's continually going to be the goal. It isn't about being correct or just trying to force my own opinion on the market and proving, see, I was right. I made this assumption and I was right. Nobody cares. The market can't hear me. It probably has the camera in here. That's all these hedge funds hear when I'm buying and selling, and that's exactly when I buy the top and sell the bottom, of course, and everything. But other than that, it doesn't care, it doesn't know. It's an inanimate object, and it can't be where I derive my self-satisfaction or self-confidence in myself of, if I have a green day today, that means I'm a good person and I'm a good trader. If I have a red day, that does not mean that I am a bad person or a bad trader. It is just about the flow. It's never getting too high, never getting too low, right? Just consistently keeping my emotions within the realms of understanding, because how emotionally draining is it too to just be so euphoric and astounded with the big green days and then just absolutely broken and desolate in those hard red days. It's just not a way to live. Your body can't sustain it just physically. It's so taxing. But just continuing to come to the market every day with no preconceived notions about what should happen or what I'm trying to do out of it. I'm just saying, oh, look, there's a nickel there. I'll go ahead and pick it up. Oh, there's another nickel over there. Oh, here comes the steamroller. I'll go ahead and step out of the way. I don't want to be a part of anything in that situation there. But, man, more about life, I feel, is learned more and more as I just continue to have that perspective than anything about trading is here, because it's all emotion, right? That's exactly what we're trading. That's been the exact same way that the stock market has worked since its inception. It's just about emotion. It's not about red or green candles. It's not about price levels. It's about human emotion and what's going on behind the curtain there. So I did actually also play, to mention back on my future strategy again, I did play a little bit of this double bottom, kind of call it a higher low on the MES side of it, thinking, okay, this could be a little bit of trade. I like this little nice risk reward. I could see it working here. Sure enough, I tried to play it off of the P&L side of it and set my stop at break even and got a little bit filled higher on this candle here. And sure enough, this candle, I think it might have been this third candle, actually came back and stopped me out a little bit. This second candle might have been this 939 candle here. Stopped me out, like it just somehow sucked right to my stop and immediately bounced off of there and worked perfectly, reclaimed back to view up. And I know totally that I would have been selling into this and not looking for anything more. And sure enough, it worked out perfectly that was the top, the only opportunity to sell for that little trade that was. But even there was a little thesis in me of like, oh, this market could go green still today. There could be more upside. I could see myself holding 2 MES contracts and leaving one on as a little lottery ticket, seeing if we have a bigger green day again coming off of what we did yesterday. But it was all sell today, that's for sure. So not trying to be a hero and continue to catch the falling knife over and over again and just beat my head against the door if I did try to do that, but just let it be and let it do what it wants to do. And crazy to see that it just kept doing what it wanted to do the entire day there. But that's absolutely awesome to see, and just another recognition of it's Mother Nature, it's the market. It's going to do what it wants to do and doesn't care what you think about it whatsoever. I also did, because I was sizing down on the overall ES contract side for that 930 strategy, I did try to take a little stab or kind of attempt of, as I was getting filled right within the millisecond of market open for those ES contracts, I did try to take a stab on one MES contract long as well. And my thesis was of, oh, hey, if we get these types of first minute green candles that have the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 point upward moves, you know, I don't want to take full size on it and just be a part of it, risk more size on the ES side for what that trade is. But I think, you know, I just want to add a little element to it and be a part of it if it does happen on the MES side, and trying to be a little discretional with it of, I get long here and, okay, sure enough, we have a quick wise, sell into that little bit of strength if that's going to happen. But just did not, just looking too red, and I was not going to be selling at 2 points. I was looking for, or 1 point even, I was looking for far more points above there, of rise above VWAP and blah, 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 all those things. So just ended up cutting it, not trying to make it the same type of strategy either, of leaving it till the time risk I've set on it of 9:45 or 10 o'clock time frame, but just of saying, I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to waste more mental capital on it than it is. So I took a little $30 loser on that itself. But that was all the future side of it for the morning session that I was a part of. And I also did take a little stabbies on BTTX to the short side paper, if my little candles would pull up here. Okay, here we are. Internet's being wacky, but took a little paper short on this one, as I thought this is a low floater multi-day run move here. But looking at this and saying, okay, we're getting a little double toppy action, kind of a fake breakout. Let's get a little short into it. Through 1,000 shares through TradingView, short right at that break. And that sure enough ended up being the top for that move specifically. And in all reality, in my cover here for this move at the 10:47 minute, oh, there they come, the candles. Actually covering my first one into this move. Let's just take away so it looks cleaner. Covering within to that little strength and liquidity here at this point as price came back down to some sort of mean or average, coming from the extremes to back to some amount of relativity closer to view up there. I mean, that's the entire trade that I'm looking for with this little, as I'm testing myself with these paper trades and paper shorts, and thinking I'm recognizing and seeing a potential pattern to play off here with nice risk reward opportunity. I mean, that's the entirety of the trade. It's not a huge home run slam dunk, taking it anywhere from 295-ish, covering just sub of 280-ish. Not anything to, call yourself the greatest trader in the world, but that is a nice little scalpy and nice risk reward opportunities on those type of trades, of not trying to force it on that first upside of the move still within this time frame of the 10-17, 10-18 time frame, but of saying, okay, a little double toppy, little fake breakouty with similar volume. This could have a nice little pullback here of extracting in longs and then sucking them in short, bringing it, not looking for the death of this chart overall, not looking to bring it back to red on the day past that previous trading day close, but just, hey, do we get a little pullback to VWAP off of here? Do we get any amount of just little selling pressure or trapping in of the longs that make them start to force out who are trying to look for that quick scalp as well, the quick move upwards? That I see a lot of those guys on YouTube of streaming of a relentless trader comes to mind of looking to just buy that strength and continuation there of they're playing off of the shorts being scalped there for those same moves, but playing off of the reverse of that trade is just snip, snap, snip, snap, snip, snap, like Michael Scott, back and forth that way. But of course I did leave half. That was actually only half of my position covered, just leaving a few on saying, okay, this is where I would like to cover. This is the trade in its entirety, but could we have some fake outs? Could we have some little more pullback closer to that original level, closer to the morning of 2.4-ish, 2.5-ish range? I think my cover was around 2.6-ish. That hey, if we get price to move there, I'm certainly fine with that trade. That does sound like a nice move there for what that trade, in my opinion, was going to do. Setting my stop, not at that $3 whole dollar level, which just barely failed for those initial breakouts, but sitting at like, oh, okay, if we do, I don't want to go like 310 because that's kind of too obvious. So I'll set it like 306, if give him like 5 more cents beyond that $3 level, and then just shy of like, if it's going to get to that point, then it could potentially start skipping further. So in my head, that's where the point of it not being fake out potential, but also enough room to not just let it go absolutely crazy against me and start skipping with huge price levels. I'm just keeping that risk factor in mind. And of course, that is the top candle there for that little more regional move there that I did cover those last shares with my stop into at that point. But that's why these are paper. That's why I'm learning into it. And again, still held VWAP, though, did not even touch the underside of VWAP for intraday there. Did have another push to the high of day. And then, sure enough, before close in the afternoon session, starts peeling off of that high. Still holding that 310-ish level for a good little while, having some fake outs and wiki candles, but sure enough, sending it back down to that VWAP and then reclaiming the underside of it and closing pretty weakly, closing red intraday from where we opened, which is pretty interesting to see. It's so tough with all of these of just like, God, looking at it intraday and hindsight, price is far below where my initial entry was of kind of I was covering into that high a day push there in strength, covering into the weakness for what my position is considered. But gotcha, that's why it's paper. That's why I'm learning every aspect of it, and maybe not so much that I do any more of setting stops, but of course that's when I just get super uber screwed when it runs against me, when I'm not in front of the computer and just start skipping huge price levels, when I'm not trying to watch price action so succinctly or find areas where I could say, gosh, okay, I think price is building a little bit too well here in this 1140-ish time frame, or just holding too nicely. Okay, volume's starting to pick up. Gosh, I just don't want to be a part of this trade anymore. Going ahead and cutting it there around that 1145 mark of, if I was in front of the computer, and identifying areas like that where a stop wouldn't be necessary, that I would be discretionary in that regard. But I could definitely see myself getting more fake outy with that and just being way more tempted to start taking off than to let it play out and look at it in hindsight at the end of the day, saying, okay, what do I learn from this chart today? Still having some of the position on after what I consider to be, this is a full, beautiful little trade. This is kind of shorting into the top, picking tops there, and being a part of an immediate move happening right after that. That is the exact type of price action and time frame that I want that trade to be. Trying to force more out of it, is that worthwhile? Does the market overall sentiment say with these similar type of movers that is possible? And just continue to learn from that and build a database of that, of being able to trade, actually take trades on it in the future. I looked up the borrows just for reference for me for locates through Trade Zero. They were not terrible at all, so that promotes a nice little opportunity to say that this could have trade have actually happened if I had wanted to take it real. And comparing that to like the CYN trade that I definitely wanted to take and be a part of, that manipulated run-up that just inevitably those all just end up tanking and dumping, fading away. No share locates on that one, so it's tough to even like watch that chart or pull it up at the end of the day and see it just having these hard, I think it actually had a first green day today, but watching it have that harder sell-off and backside to the move when it's just like, gosh, well, I can't even be a part of it anyway, even if I did want to find locates of it and take an actual day trade with that trade on that chart. But just going through the motions and continuing to build more educational, firsthand experience in these trades is definitely what I'm after. Just continue to build upon myself, building blocks for my trading career. That just, it's about the next day and the next trade and what this builds into the next trade. And as long as I continue to have money in my account and margin enough to trade, I mean, that's enough to play the game. That's enough to just continue to keep my skin in the game and learn more and more. And so I'm extremely thankful for it. And I'm extremely thankful for each and every one of you making it this far in the video. And we will catch you guys on the next one.